The thing that took me a long time to understand was how to get my drawings from the paper to the computer and set it up for animating. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video. First, I'll show you how this drawing became this animation. And I'll even show you a little lip syncing and animation on that guy for this song right here.
Did you ever think that if you just shut your trap, all the problems that you have go away?
Then I'll tell you a little bit about how I settled on this process and some other ways I used to do it in the past to get to this point, and I'll show you some of the animations I made with each process. And if you stick to the end, I'll show you the character that I made from these sketches.
Hello, I'm called Sphere.
Construction worker karaoke. He doesn't look exactly how I want. He's a little too skinny. I took a photo of him on my iPad, loaded it up in ToonSquid, and I re-sketched him. Made him look a bit better. And I got this. And after I had the sketch looking the way I wanted, then it was time to finalize. Sort of vectorize and put each thing that was going to move independently on its own layer. So like, I know he's not going to be walking around, so the legs are just one. They're all on one layer, the foot taps. The arms, the arm with the microphone, the whole arm is together. That's just one layer. But then the other arm, he's doing different things with his hands and his arm. So the lower arm is separate from the upper arm. And then do stuff like transforms, where I put the whole body together so the whole body can rotate. Same with the head. Yeah, pretty simple stuff, pretty straightforward stuff. But once that's all, it's pretty time consuming, but once it's ready, once it's done, it's ready to animate. All I wrote for this guy was this. I thought it would be funny to have him sing the chorus of some AI generated, like fake 90s pop songs. So all I knew is that I wanted him to tap his foot. He was gonna be singing karaoke, and I wanted him to tap his foot just to give some constant animation. The rest would be just typical arm, head, hand movement type stuff. Nothing crazy. He's just gonna stand in the same spot the whole time. I guess the technical term for this kind of animation is cutout animation, or sort of rigged animation, or swap frame animation. I've heard it called many different names. But in ToonSquid, I'm gonna use the symbols feature just to pick the frame that I want. Symbols they're basically like little containers, and they hold another timeline. So I can hide a bunch of other drawings in that timeline, and then I just choose them. So for the mouth, I can choose from any of these. For the eyes, I have these frames drawn. For the hands, there's not many, just a few. And using that and basic rotation, that's it. That's how I got this. The final animation has compositing effects and some stuff done to it, but this is 90% of it right here. Now let's go over to the iPad, and I will show you very briefly how I animate this guy to the new viral karaoke hit sensation, Did You Ever Think That? Alright, first, let me just show you what the animation is first before I tell you how I did it. It's very brief. Alright, so the foot tap, that just repeats all the time. That's a symbol. So it's just a repeating, I think it's 1 second, 2 seconds maybe, don't remember. But it just repeats the whole time. Let's start with the mouth. These are all hold keyframes. And the hold keyframes are just when it switches immediately. There's no easing. There's not linear. There's no nothing. Looks like that. As opposed to something like that. You know, just picking the frame that I want. Picking the, can't see it. Just picking the mouth shape that fits. So a tip is to move the keyframes back. For lip syncing, move them back a couple frames. So for example, this is what I had. Like when going through and listening to it, this is where it sounds like the mouth placement should be. So like when it goes slow, it sounds right. But then when you watch it, like it seems behind at some point. So what I always do is just I lip sync all the way through. Then I move them back 2, 3, 4 frames. And it always looks better. The only other thing moving right now is the body and the head. And here's the head. And dancing I feel like is tough. Like, so right now these are easing out. Like if I turn it to easing in, I think it's gonna look not good. I mean, what do we do? Some ease in, some ease out. That might look good, actually. Oh, that looks good. You know, I would mess with this a lot. But this is how this guy gets animated. And then if I want to change the hand, or if I want to, I would come in here. Yeah, something like that. So I got into animation from making games. I was making games and doing game jams, and I always needed art and animation, but it was always an afterthought. The games were kind of the main thing. Animation was something I had to do. But I always remember enjoying that part. I always enjoyed the animation part. But I would just make what I needed in Photoshop. I wasn't really thinking about it. It was Photoshop, the frame-by-frame setup they have in there. But yeah, I never really sketched anything out. I just kind of, if I needed a frame, a jump frame, I made a jump frame. If I needed a squash frame, I made a squash frame. You know, stuff like that. And next, I got into Adobe Character Animator, which is a program that used your webcam. I mean, it still does. It's still around. Uses your webcam to track your face, and you could control the cartoon character with that, with your own face. And it was fun. It's very cool. But I found myself not using the face tracking and just using the frame-by-frame section mostly. I think it was their version of symbols, then I think they called it a cycle. Here's some of the characters I made in Character Animator. For these, I used a pretty small tablet. I think it's the smallest one you could get. I think it was this one. And did it in Photoshop. And still didn't sketch at this point. I mean, I'd always been drawing and always sketching stuff, but I don't know, there was a disconnect between digital art and physical art, like real art for me at this point. I didn't realize that the two were related. And so I was hand drawing the animations through the tablet. Around that time, my lovely and not at all sassy wife had started a shop on Etsy selling cute, kawaii streaming assets. kind of like badges and profile panels and overlays and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I can animate that stuff. So I started animating her characters, and she has a nice little like minimal kawaii vector style. So my hand drawing looked awful when I tried to do it. So I had to switch it up, and I started using paths and shapes in After Effects. And that's kind of when it all clicked for me. She would sketch it out, and I would recreate it with paths and shapes and animate it in After Effects. And yeah, that's kind of when I realized how to get the drawings on the computer, and you have to remake it. You have to redo it on the computer. And I mean, it sounds pretty obvious, but yeah, at the time it was amazing to me. And ever since, I've been animating in that style, or kind of like with that process. Sketch to path and shape. Almost all of what you're seeing now is from After Effects, but I hate Adobe, so we got rid of them about a year ago, and thank God. Now I use ToonSquid for most of my stuff, or I recently bought Moho, which looks amazing. I'm very excited to use it. I haven't really messed with it yet, but I bought Moho 12 for $30. There's no monthly fee, so I assume at some point I'm gonna, upgrade to Moho 14. But all these programs have the same thing, which is vector animation, and that is what I like.
Hello, I'm called Sphere. This is not my true form, my home planet. I am just Sphere. But I have chosen this mouth after extensive research. This is what humans find most appealing and most trustworthy. Who would have thought? Now, if you have in any way enjoyed this, do you just, so you got something like right there. Or like you do the thing right there, too. You could do that. All right. Goodbye.